What's up, everybody? Welcome to part four and the final part of my top 100 favorite movies list. And this is going to be from 25 to number one. So, yeah, you could say this video in particular is my top 25 favorite movies. But if you haven't gone back and if you haven't watched my the part one, two, and three of my top 100 favorite movies, check those out before you watch this. But yeah, we're finally here, and technically my top 25 favorite movies. So yeah, all right, let's waste no time. Let's get started, shall we? So, coming in at number 25, we have my second favorite Stanley Kubrick film and my favorite war movie. That is Full Metal Jacket. Yeah, not Paths of Glory. Sorry. I don't really like Paths of Glory, but I love Full Metal Jacket. Full Metal Jacket is a masterpiece, if I'm going to be honest. It really is. I know there's a lot of people that mostly just likes the first half of the movie, which I will be honest, the first half is really fucking good and even better in the second half, but I still like the second half. I still do. I think both are really good. And I think the second half does, serve a purpose to the first half of the movie. But and that's actually, and this is a war movie, and that's where the war comes in, is in the second half. But the first half has the training, and I will say that is a little bit better because it's the most entertaining one out of the two, and Arlie Ermy is hilarious, honestly, as Sergeant Hartman. His insults are just amazing, and I think Arlie Ermy, I think, was even like his character Hartman was, I think, of influence on Terrence Fletcher, which is J.K. Simmons' character in Whiplash, which don't get me wrong, J.K. Simmons was fantastic in Whiplash, Oscar well deserved for sure. However, though, I actually prefer Arlie Ermy, his performance in Full Metal Jacket. I don't know. I think he's funnier, and I think he's kind of maybe more intense. I don't know. Actually, okay, maybe J.K. Simmons might be more intense, but I don't know. I just personally like Arlie Ermy a little better, and he's still very intense though. And also, Vincent D'Onofrio as Private Pyle gives an amazing performance in the film as well, and that bathroom scene, holy shit. Also, Matthew Modine, who's actually in both parts in the film. He's great too, as I would say the lead character, Joker, and he does shine a little bit more in the second half. But yeah, he's great. I also like Adam Baldwin as well, who's in the second half. I think it was the animal lover. He's pretty cool, pretty kind of funny. But no, I think this is a great war film. It has awesome soundtrack too. You got Paint It Black from the Stones. You got Surfing Bird is in there, and just some other stuff. These boots are made for walking. But yeah, it's kind of an odd soundtrack to have for this movie. Paint It Black makes sense because that's kind of about war. That is about war. But the others I mentioned, it's kind of odd. But still, it works pretty well. It's shot very well. I love the cinematography in this. It's just, even the score is really great. Yeah, I love Full Metal Jacket. Would be my favorite Stanley Kubrick movie if it wasn't for another one that we'll get to later. Which, if you see my Stanley Kubrick ranking, then you already know what it is. But yeah, my second favorite Stanley Kubrick film and my favorite war film, Full Metal Jacket. That's number 25. Yeah. All right. So coming in at number 24. Now, I think this is now my new favorite coming of age movie. I'm looking at my list here and I don't see any more. So yeah, this is my new favorite coming of age movie. For a while, it was Perks of Being a Wallflower. Now, it's this movie. This is a movie that I reviewed on my channel, and I recently rewatched it, and yeah, it got moved up. That is Eighth Grade. Yeah, Eighth Grade is a fantastic coming of age movie directed by Bo Burnham, and he surprisingly does a really good job directing this movie. So far, this is the only movie he's ever directed, besides that. Besides that special, I guess you can call it, Inside, which was pretty good. I enjoyed that. I thought that was pretty cool. But he did direct that. But beside that, yeah, this is the only thing he's ever directed. I wanted to direct more. In fact, I might be in the minority of this. I don't know if anyone else is down for it. Probably not even Bo Burnham or even Elsie Fisher, the actress in this movie, who is fantastic. But honestly, I would love to see a sequel to this movie where Kayla, the lead character, is about to finish high school. I think that would be great. That would be, I mean, I don't always love sequels, but I feel like they could probably pull it off very well. But I don't know. I mean, I haven't heard any talks about a sequel, and it's probably getting a little bit too late. I think Elsie Fisher's already like in her 20s, maybe, or almost at least, but still, like, I mean, they could still do it, but I don't know. They can't wait for too long, so it probably won't ever happen. And I'm probably the only person that wants it. But yeah, but Eighth Grade is fantastic. It's my second favorite A24 film. We'll get to my first much later, but yeah, I absolutely adore this movie. I connect with the character of Kayla. I really do, because I'm kind of socially awkward a little bit. I've gotten better through the years. Gotten better at talking to people, but I'm still a little bit socially awkward, like in person. Hell, I think I'm kind of awkward even in these videos. I mean, tell me down below in the comments, but even in my videos, I could get that way. But yeah, but when I first saw this movie, that was like around the time whenever I was still starting out this channel, and so I definitely related to her like right away. And yeah, again, fantastic performance by Elsie Fisher. And whoever played the dad too, Josh Hamilton, he was great as well. And I really liked their relationship in this movie. And it's shot very well too. I love the cinematography. There's some really awesome shots in this movie, and it's just a really awesome movie. I love it. I love Eighth Grade. It's my favorite coming of age movie. My second favorite A24 movie, and my 24th favorite movie. So yeah. All right. So now we went from my favorite. Well, first my favorite war movie, then my favorite coming of age movie, and now we're on to I believe. Let me check real quick. Yes, my favorite biopic, and yeah. So coming in at number 23, we have my favorite biopic and my favorite Jim Carrey movie and even performance. That is Man on the Moon. Yeah. Man, this movie is so underrated. Like, no one really talks about this movie, and it's a crime, I think. I think this movie is amazing. Even if you don't know much about Andy Kaufman, I still recommend watching this movie, and this movie will teach you. And I also, if you like the movie The Disaster Artist, I also very much recommend Man on the Moon, because it's a little bit similar to that, because it's like, well, for one thing, I mean, Jim Carrey gives like a very, what's the word I'm looking for? Method acting performance as Andy Kaufman, much like James Franco and the Disaster Artist, because when I watch the Disaster Artist, I honestly see Tommy Wiseau, and in this movie, I don't see Jim Carrey. I see Andy Kaufman, and he just nails it as Andy Kaufman. There is a documentary. I need to watch it. I've seen some of it, but I never finished it. But there was a documentary called Jim and Andy, and it's about the behind the scenes of this movie, and particularly just like how method he was. Like even Offset, he would act like Andy Kaufman, and it kind of drove some of the people on set crazy. But yeah, and yeah, fantastic performance. There was something else I was going to say too. I don't even remember now, but yeah, shit, I don't remember, but this is an amazing biopic. This was directed by Milos Forman, who also does One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest and Amadeus and The People versus Larry Flint. One of those three movies will be on this list. I'll get to later. So this isn't my favorite Milos Forman movie. Second, obviously, but yeah, he does a great job with it, and you also got actors like Dane DeVito and Paul Giamatti, who are also great, and even Courtney Love. Yeah, the Courtney Love from Hole, also, Kurt Cobain's ex-wife. Yeah, she plays, I think Lynn is her name, who was Andy's girlfriend, and she is actually really good, surprisingly really good in this movie. Like I know she's acted a few some other films as well, but she actually pulled it off very well in this film. But yeah, I love this movie. This is a amazing biopic, and my favorite biopic, and yeah, great film. Man on the Moon, that is number 23. Yeah, 23. Okay, coming in at number 22, we have my favorite Edgar Wright film, and I think I've talked about this one a lot on the channel, but yeah, that is Scott Pilgrim versus the World. Now, I know nowadays this movie is kind of controversial just because some people think that the lead characters are like a bad influence on kids, which I just think is ridiculous. If they act like these, I know they're not really good people, but if they act like these people, I mean, that's just on them. But no, but I don't give a shit about that. This movie is still fantastic. There's actually a Netflix show coming out very soon. It's like an anime, but with the original cast from this movie, which I'm really looking forward to that. But yeah, excuse me. But fantastic cast too. Of course, you got Michael Cera giving his best performance. I know a lot of people don't like Michael Cera. I do actually. I really do, and this is definitely hands down his best performance. Also, Mary Elizabeth Winstead, who I think might give the best performance in the whole film as Ramona Flowers. She is awesome in this movie, and also Jason Schwartzman as the villain, Gideon. He's great. And you also got like other actors like Karen Culkin, who plays Wallace, who's probably my favorite character in the movie. He's really funny. And you also got Brie Larson and Aubrey Plaza and what's her name? Anna Kendrick, Luke, what's his name? Chris Evans. I was gonna say Luke Evans. Chris Evans. Who's Luke Evans? That name sounds familiar. Anyway, Chris Evans is also in this movie, and Brandon Ralph, and yeah, it's just fantastic cast. They all give amazing performances in this film. They're all great. Not a bad performance in the movie, I don't think. And this movie is hilarious too. This movie is really funny. It has great action. I love the romance between Scott and Ramona, and also a kick-ass soundtrack. Scott Pilgrim is in a band called Sex Bob-omb, and they're pretty fucking awesome. On top of that, their songs were written by Beck, of all people. But you also got other great songs in it too. Like I heard Ramona sing from Frank Black, and the Rolling Stones Under My Thumb, and there's also Broken Social Scene and Metro and a bunch of other bands too. Um, Fantastic soundtrack and fantastic movie. I love Scott Pilgrim. It's just such an amazing movie. Yeah. Scott Pilgrim versus the World. That's my number 22. All right, coming at number 21, we have a Best Picture winner, and this is my second favorite Best Picture winner. That is American Beauty. Now, all right, another controversial movie, mostly because of the lead actor, Kevin Spacey. If I'm going to be completely honest, I Kevin Spacey is honestly one of my favorite actors. Is he one of my favorite people? Absolutely not. He's not a great person. I understand that, but I still like him as an actor. I tend to, separate the art from the artist. And with that being said, he's fantastic in this film. Now, I think the main problem people have with this movie is, well, not just Kevin Spacey, but the fact that he plays a pedophile in this movie, and he turned out to be one in real life. But which, yeah, that can be kind of weird. But like watching this movie nowadays, but because of that, but I don't know. I still just tend to separate that. Mostly because, and this might sound weird, but aside from the pedophilia stuff, I think Lester Burnham, Kevin Spacey's character, is actually relatable. Not him being attracted to a teenage girl, no, but the other stuff, just him hating his life and whatnot, not even liking his wife and daughter anymore. I mean, I'm not married and I don't have a kid, but still, like, but I don't really love my life either. So, yeah, he's actually pretty relatable, and yeah, and he definitely deserved that Oscar. I think also, didn't Annette Bening win too? I think that year. I could be wrong, but I think she did. But yeah, she's great as well, and so is Thora Birch. Thora Birch is fantastic, and so is what's his name? Chris Cooper and Allison Janney and Wes Benity. He plays a very interesting character, and the girl who plays the girl that Kevin Spacey has a crush on, I can't pronounce her name, but she's great as well. Yeah, this is just I don't know. I really like these characters in this movie. I mean, they're not great people, but they're interesting and very well written and very well acted characters. Like all the main characters, I think, are fantastic. And Sam Mendes, this was his debut film. He does a fantastic job with directing this movie, and everything's great about it. I think everything's great. I love the cinematography. I love the score by Thomas Newman, who I think is my favorite composer, and I absolutely love his score in this movie. Even some of the visuals in this movie, like with the roses and whatnot, looks great, and yeah, it's a great film. Maybe if it's a movie that you can only watch once, then I understand, but I love it. I love American Beauty, and that's my number 21. All right, coming in at number 20, we have in my opinion, a pretty underrated movie. I mean, it was pretty well praised when it came out. It even won an Oscar for what was it, best adapted screenplay. But I still find it a little underrated, mostly just because no one talks about this movie anymore. Like, at least not a lot of people do, and I think it's a masterpiece. My number 20 is Sling Blade. Sling Blade is an absolute masterpiece, without a doubt. Billy Bob Thornton, man, did an amazing job, not only as acting as Carl, the main character, who, yeah, he was fan fucking tastic as Carl, but also writing and directing this movie too. Like, it's absolutely amazing, and I love the script. The script was definitely what I fell in love with whenever I very first saw this movie. Like, I was like, man, this movie's so well written. And yeah, it's great. Like I said, Billy Bob Thornton as Carl does an amazing job playing this mentally challenged person who has a funny voice. But but yeah, and also I will say this was a movie I remember I wasn't looking forward to watching because I'm from Oklahoma, and this movie's very popular in Oklahoma for some reason. I'm not even sure why, because it wasn't like filmed in Oklahoma, but I don't know. But it is very popular here, and like everyone I knew liked this movie, and I was just like kids at school would quote it even, and I was like thinking, the kids at school they also like the movie White Chicks, so this movie probably isn't good either. But man, was I wrong, because which I never seen White Chicks. I don't really plan to, but this movie is absolutely amazing. I also not just Billy Bob Thornton, but other great performances like fucking Dwight Yoakam as Doyle, who I hated at first, the character that is, but he's actually kind of funny on rewatch, to be honest. But he is a piece of shit character, yes, but he's actually pretty funny, and he does a fantastic job. John Ritter's also great, and J.T. Walsh and Robert Duvall. Lucas Black, who plays Frank, the kid in the movie who Carl has a friendship with, and their chemistry is great. It's so good. Yeah, this movie is absolutely amazing. Like, it's really fucking good. Every time I watch it, I just fall in love with it, and yeah, I highly recommend it. Sling Blade, in my opinion, is a masterpiece, and that's my number 20. All right, coming on number 19, we have my second favorite movie by my favorite director of all time. That is David Lynch. My second favorite movie of his. We'll get to my favorite later. If you see my channel, though, then you should know what it is. But yeah, that is Mulholland Drive. Mulholland Drive is just, I don't know. I don't want to use the words amazing or fantastic like I have been. I know I've used the word fantastic a lot, but it is. It's definitely a masterpiece. And man, I think this movie definitely deserved more Oscars. Well, actually, it didn't get any Oscars. It only was nominated for Best Director David Lynch, which can't talk. Deservedly so, even though he didn't win. He lost to Ron Howard for A Beautiful Mind, which is a good movie, yes, but I think he should have won that Oscar. But what really pisses me off is that, I mean, I definitely think it should have been nominated for Best Picture, but what really pisses me off is that Naomi Watts was not nominated for Best Actress. What the fuck, man? That pisses me off every single time I think of that. It just pisses me off because she is absolutely amazing. Laura Herring as well, and Justin Theroux is great too. And it's a very confusing movie, especially on first watch. But I do actually understand it now, and it actually makes sense to me now when I watch it. It has an ending that kind of pisses me off just because it's not a happy ending at all. Like, it's just not. I don't want to. I don't know what to say without spoiling the movie, so I won't. But yeah, I mean, it's a very well written and whatnot. Scene. The ending is, it's very well shot and written and whatnot. But just what happens in the ending, I hate. But that's not like a problem with the movie. No, that's just something if you've seen the movie, maybe you know what I'm talking about. But But yeah, that is if you understand the movie. But even if you don't, though, you still would enjoy this movie because it's just a very well made film. Cinematography is absolutely beautiful, and just of course it's weird because it's a David Lynch movie. There's a lot of weird stuff, but I still would think it would be a not a bad start if you wanted to watch David Lynch's films. Like this wouldn't be a bad start, I don't think. And yeah, it's just it's great. I love Mulholland Drive, and that's my number 19. Okay, coming at number 18 is a movie that if you don't like, well, that's just like your opinion, man. My favorite Coen Brothers movie, you already guessed it, that is The Big Lebowski. I mean, what can I say that hasn't been said about this movie, and what can I say that I haven't said about this movie? Because I've talked about this movie so many times, but it's great. It's hilarious. It's one of the funniest movies I've ever seen. It's a very strange movie too, but for a comedy, it's pretty weird. But yeah, Jeff Bridges, of course, as the dude. Steve Buscemi as Donnie, Julianne Moore as Maud, and even fucking John Turturro as Jesus. All great, but I should say Philip Seymour Hoffman as well, but the late great Philip Seymour Hoffman, and Sam Elliott as the narrator. But of course, the show stealer's John Goodman as Walter Sobchak, like just a ridiculous character. An asshole character, but also a pathetic character, and just hilarious. Like everything Walter says in this movie just makes me bust out laughing, and John Goodman just plays him beautifully. Like definitely his best performance, without a doubt. I mean, I love John Goodman and just about everything he's in, but this is definitely his best. And yeah, my favorite Coen Brothers movie. Yeah, great film. The Big Lebowski. That's my number 18. Yeah. All right, coming at number 17. Like The Big Lebowski, we have another 90s classic, and that is Trainspotting. This movie is not for everyone. Like, not everyone's going to like this movie. They might think it's too weird or whatever. It is a weird movie, yes, but and it might be hard to watch for some people because there are some disturbing stuff in it and even gross stuff in the film. But it's a movie about drugs, about drug addiction, much like Requiem for a Dream, which I had earlier on the list in like part 1 or 2. But didn't I have that on there? If I didn't, then fuck me. But I think I did. Yeah, okay, I did, yeah. But I like this a little better, obviously because it's higher on the list. Danny Boyle did an amazing job with this movie. Hugh McGregor, this was the movie that put him on the map, and even this movie too. This movie, believe it or not, was the movie that got him to be Obi-Wan Kenobi. Yeah, it's hard to believe, because, but yeah, this was the movie that made George Lucas cast Hugh McGregor as Obi-Wan, and he's fantastic in those movies too. But this is definitely his best performance as Mark Renton. Also, Kelly MacDonald is great in the film, and Ewan Brimmer as Spud, and Robert Carlville, I think something was named Robert Carlville as Begbie, who plays an insane character. Begbie is insane. Also, the guy who plays Sick Boy is good too, and the other guy, Johnny, was that his name? I can't remember, but or Tommy, I think it was Tommy. But anyways, But yeah, it's just a fantastic movie about drug addiction. And I have to be honest, this movie has my favorite soundtrack ever. I absolutely love the soundtrack. You, of course, got Iggy Pop with Lust for Life and Nightclubbing. One of my all time favorite songs, Perfect Day by Lou Reed. And a bunch of others. Blur is on the soundtrack as well. And I think New Order. And I love the closing track, or it wasn't the closing track on the album, but it was the track, it was the song that like ended the movie. Besides the song in the credits, like that one is fucking amazing. It was the one that ended the movie, going into the credits. That song, "Born Slippy" by Underworld, I think is the name of it. But yeah, that song is amazing too. Just an awesome soundtrack and awesome movie. It's even hilarious for a movie about drug addiction. It's actually really funny too. But yeah. I didn't love the sequel, unfortunately, which I did actually review for the channel way back. Check it out if you want. But I need to rewatch that. Whenever I do my Danny Boyle ranking, I will for sure rewatch it. But yeah, I didn't love it. It definitely, in my opinion, wasn't as good as the first one. But yeah, Trainspotting is amazing. An amazing drug movie, drug addiction movie, heroin to be specific. But yeah, number 17 is Trainspotting. All right, coming at number 16, we have one of my favorite comedies from the 80s, and that is Beverly Hills Cop. Yeah, I'm actually surprised I have this way up on the list, but I just recently watched this, and I loved it even more than I have before, and it's just it's a great film. Like, it's not only a good comedy movie, it's actually just a good movie in general. Like, it actually has a good story, good characters, good writing, and even some good action, and of course, great humor. It's an absolutely hilarious movie. Eddie Murphy, hilarious as Axel Foley. I would say probably one of my favorite movie protagonists ever. I love Axel Foley. And the theme song is very iconic. Actually, the whole soundtrack is pretty great. I love the song "Steer It Up" by Patti LaBelle. That's great. Even "The Heat Is On" by Glenn Frey, which is a very cheesy song, but that was the song that opened the movie, and I even like that song. But yeah, and he also got Judge Reinhold and John Ashton as Billy and Taggart, and they're great. And yeah, it's just a really funny movie. You even got Jonathan Banks in this movie from Breaking Bad. Yeah, Mike Ehrmantraut, my favorite Breaking Bad character, but he's even in this movie. And yeah, I love Beverly Hills Cop. It's great. It's hilarious. Unfortunately, I did not love the second movie, and I haven't even seen the third. But the second movie was very disappointing for me, and I didn't like it. But I love the first Beverly Hills Cop movie. It's amazing. Yeah, number 16 is Beverly Hills Cop. All right, coming at number 15, we have a road trip movie. Maybe my favorite? No, I got another one. But this is a movie about a family, and it's not necessarily a movie you should watch with your family, but it is a movie about a family. That is Little Miss Sunshine. I've talked a lot about this movie, and I'll say it again. This should have won Best Picture. Fuck The Departed. I kind of almost hate The Departed just because it beat Little Miss Sunshine for Best Picture. I know a lot of you would be like, well, The Departed's better. I'm just like, no, it's not. The Departed is a very flawed movie with great performances, and it is a very entertaining movie, but it's like story-wise, it's very flawed, and it's not that good, honestly. Like, not really. I don't hate it, but, well, just because it won Best Picture over Little Miss Sunshine, I kind of do, but beside that, no, I don't. But but this is a much better movie, and this movie has a fantastic story, a really great story about this family who is going. They're, I think, from New Mexico, and they're going all the way to California for because the young daughter in the movie, played by Abigail Breslin, you know, she enters into this beauty pageant, and that's the only reason why they're going, even though they don't really want to go, but they do. And yeah, this is a pretty great, just a simple road trip movie, but it's fantastic, and a great cast as well. You got Greg Kinnear, Steve Carell, Toni Collette, Paul Dano, Abigail Breslin, as I said, and Alan Arkin. You also got what's their Bryan Cranston and Dean Norris. Again, two Breaking Bad actors, much like Jonathan Banks and Beverly Hills Cop. But yeah, and I could be wrong, but I think Alan Arkin won an Oscar for this movie too. I should say the late great Alan Arkin, because he sadly passed away, I think, this year. But rest in peace to him. But yeah, I believe he won an Oscar for that movie, which I will say, if Jack Nicholson was nominated for The Departed for Best Supporting Actor, I honestly would have gone with him, but he wasn't. Instead, it was Mark Wahlberg, who I hate in that movie. Beside the point, but at least Alan Arkin, at least Little Miss Sunshine did beat The Departed for a Oscar. Maybe not for Best Picture, but at least for something. But yeah, I absolutely love it. It's really funny too. It has a dark sense of humor. There are some great dramatic moments in it as well. It blends comedy and drama very well. And there's some pretty dark stuff in the movie. I mean, you got Steve Carell, who is you know, suicidal because his crush is going out with someone else, and yeah, and also Paul Dano too, him taking a vow of silence to become a jet pilot, and yeah, it's Paul Dano too. Paul Dano is actually my favorite character in the movie as Dwayne. He's fantastic, and I love the outburst scene too. Probably the best scene in the movie. If you've seen the movie, you should know what I'm talking about. But anyway, but yeah, Little Miss Sunshine is fantastic, and yeah, it is my number 15. Okay, this might be a little longer because we're almost at 40 minutes. This might be 50. I'm going to try to speed it up, though. I'm going to try to speed up a little bit. But anyways, yeah. Okay, number 14, we have my favorite musical, and that is Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. Now, all right, let me explain myself here of why it's my favorite musical. One thing I hate about musicals is that a lot of them have like a musical number like every 1 or 2 minutes, and it's really annoying. This movie, on the other hand, doesn't do that at all. It takes its time with the musical numbers. There's not even that many either, but you know, they have dialogue in the movie, and like most of it is dialogue, and about every 5 to 10 minutes they'll break into a song. But that's how I think every musical should be. Like, musicals are much better if they do it that way. Not like Sweeney Todd, for example, which I don't like that movie just because it has like a musical number like every 1 or 2 minutes, and it's really annoying, like I said. But no. That's why Willy Wonka is my favorite musical. And of course, I gotta mention Gene Wilder as Willy Wonka. Absolutely fantastic. I should mention some of the songs, actually most of the songs. I'm not a fan of the Oompa Loompa songs, really, to be honest, but all the others I think are very good, especially Pure Imagination. That's great, and Golden Ticket, and Candyman, and yeah. It's just, yeah, I love Willy Wonka. It's one of my comfort movies, to be honest. It really is. It makes me happy every time watching it. It's really funny, too, and I love Willy Wonka. Yeah, Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. That's my number 14. All right, coming at number 13, I would probably also say this is another comfort movie. And this is my favorite Tim Burton movie, and it happens to be his debut film. That is Pee-wee's Big Adventure, starring, I have to say, the late great Paul Reubens, who passed away this year. Still breaks my heart, but this movie is fucking hilarious. This is actually the second funniest movie I've ever seen. The funniest movie I've ever seen is actually the coming after this one, but yeah, this movie is absolutely hilarious. Like just about every scene has a joke or something that makes me laugh, and it's fantastic. Danny Elfman's score is great, and of course Paul Reubens as Pee-wee. Sadly, I did not really care for Big Top Pee-wee. I haven't seen Pee-wee's Big Holiday, which was the third one, which I don't know. I might check it out, but Pee-wee's Big Adventure is fantastic. Like I keep saying, and yeah, I love it. Pee-wee's Big Adventure. That is my number 13. Second funniest movie I've ever seen. But this is my number one funniest movie I've ever seen. And so my number 12 this is going to be a shocking one if you don't know my channel, that is. But my number 12 is a movie that is considered to be one of the worst movies ever made. I actually mentioned it too a little bit ago, or at least I mentioned a movie that was about this movie. But it's considered to be one of the worst movies ever made, and it's also considered to be the best bad movie ever made, which I agree with that one more. But my number 12 is The Room. Yes, not a joke at all. This is one of my favorite movies of all time. Look, say what you will about The Room, if you love it or hate it, whatever. But don't look at it as a drama. Look at it as a comedy. If you look at it as a comedy, it's actually a good movie. If you look at it as a drama, then yeah, it's terrible. But if you look at it as a comedy, it is actually a good movie. I look at it as I don't think I've ever said this on the channel, but actually, I recently discovered this, but I look at it as a spoof on soap operas. If you know anything about soap operas, like how badly they're shot, how bad the acting is, and whatnot. And then if you watch this movie, it definitely, even if you don't know anything about it, if someone tells you that it's a comedy, and if they tell you it's a spoof on soap operas, it's very believable. I mean, no one told me that, but still, like here's the thing: whenever I get a girlfriend and she's never even heard of this movie, I'll tell her this is a parody on soap operas. And even if she has heard of it and heard it's bad and stuff, I'll just say, okay, well, look at it as a spoof on soap operas. Don't look at it as a bad movie. That's what I'm going to say to her. I'm definitely showing this movie to my girlfriend, by the way. Definitely. But yeah, The Room is fantastic. Tommy Wiseau, what he did with this movie. He wanted to make a very popular movie. He wanted to be famous, and he did. He became famous. This movie became popular. Maybe for not the reasons he wanted, but still. And he's actually, even to this day, very proud of it, because this movie does have a huge fan base, and I'm one of them. I love The Room. I absolutely do. And yeah, it's great. Haha, what a story, Mark. But yeah, The Room, that's my number 12. Okay, so coming in at number 11, I lost the list on here, but I know that was number 12. So this is number 11. But coming at number 11, okay, I got the list now. Coming at number 11, we have my favorite Best Picture winner, and that is One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. Yeah, directed by Milos Forman, who also did Man on the Moon. But man, this movie, like, this movie made me love Jack Nicholson. He is one of my favorite actors. He was my favorite actor for quite a while, but he's still up there for sure. And this movie definitely proves it. I mean, of course, you could say The Shining and maybe some other movies, but no, One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest is his best performance in my opinion. Him as McMurphy, just fantastic. And he's not even a good person, like not at all. But you still love this character. Nicholson's performance is definitely a big reason why. But and also too, the antagonist in this film, Nurse Ratched, who is played perfectly by Louise Fletcher, but you hate her even though she's just a nurse and she's not really a bad person, but you look at her as the villain and she seems like a bitch. In reality, she probably is just a nurse doing her job. But that's what I love about this movie. And yeah, you also got like future stars in this movie, like Danny DeVito and Christopher Lloyd. Both in this, they're absolutely great in the film. You also got Brad Dourif, who plays Billy in the film, who is great, and he is, I think, mostly known for doing the voice of Chucky, the doll. But yeah, he's fantastic. And I think Will Sampson, is that his name? But who plays Chief? He is absolutely great too. I love Chief. He's definitely one of my favorite characters. Cheswick is a great character as well. This movie has great characters. I love them, and I have to be honest. This is my favorite ending to a movie. If I'm going to be honest, it is a sad ending, but you can also look at it as a happy ending as well, and that's what I love about it. Like, you don't get endings that are both happy and sad very often, but this one does, and it pulls it off very well. Yeah, it's also pretty funny too, like kind of like Trainspotting. It's about a subject that's not really supposed to be funny, but because this movie's about mental illness, of course, but it does it in a very, very comedic way at times, and it's pretty funny. This movie's kind of a comedy. It's a drama, but it's also a comedy, and it does it very well. It's pretty funny. But yeah, One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. Love this movie to death. That is my number 11. All right, so coming in at number 10, we have my favorite movie, but from my favorite trilogy. I actually had the third installment in it. I didn't have the second installment, but unfortunately, I don't have that on the list. But this, yeah. Anyways, it's also my favorite Richard Linklater film. That is Before Sunrise. Yeah, this got moved up to the top 10. I think this is a masterpiece, without a doubt. Like, I love the sequels, even Before Sunset, which I didn't make the list, unfortunately. That is my least favorite in the trilogy. Mostly just because it's short, but still a great film. Don't get me wrong. And I love Before Midnight, which I've had earlier on the list. But those sequels are fantastic. But I will be honest, like this movie, this didn't need to be a trilogy. It could have just been a standalone film, and it would have been great. It would have been great even that way. Because this is, in my opinion, definitely the best out of the trilogy, and it's definitely a masterpiece. I love it. I know there's a lot of people that might say, like, Before Sunset is better, or maybe even some that say Before Midnight, but, or just some that like the equal as a whole, like the trilogy as a whole. They just like all three movies equally, which I get that. I do. But, and I could have just had all three movies as just one spot, because I love all three movies and it's my favorite trilogy. But I just feel like Before Sunrise, like I said, is like just as a standalone movie, it's a masterpiece. Ethan Hawke and Julie Delpy, absolutely amazing in this film. I love their characters, Jesse and Celine, and it's a beautiful movie. It really is. Just about these two people who meet and fall in love, all in just like one day, pretty much. And they don't see each other again until years later, but in the sequel. But yeah, it's like honestly, if you took those movies out, then it would just be like an interpretation. It's just like, well, are they going to see each other again or are they not? Like, you could just look at it that way, and this movie would have been great as just a standalone film. But you know, trilogy itself, like, again, is great. But I love Before Sunrise. It's amazing, and that's my number 10. All right, so coming in at number 9, we have my favorite Stanley Kubrick movie, and it's a very controversial movie. This is a movie that's not for everybody, but I have to be honest, it is for me. That is A Clockwork Orange. I mean, yes, it's a very popular movie, but it's a movie not for everybody. There's a lot of people that say that it's just like a one and done movie. Even some people that might like it, they would say, yeah, it's good, but I'll never watch it again. I can watch this anytime, to be honest. And yeah, sure, there's some disturbing stuff in it, and the protagonist is a piece of shit, but it's still a masterpiece in my opinion. I just think it's great. Malcolm McDowell as Alex DeLarge, while yet again is a piece of shit character, he's still a great protagonist because he's just very well written. I love his dialogue, and the performance by Malcolm McDowell is one of the best performances I have ever seen put on film. The cinematography is amazing too. I mean, it's a Stanley Kubrick film, so of course it is. But yeah, and the score is absolutely just beautiful. I love the score, especially the theme song, but the score in general is just great. And yeah, it's weird. It's pretty fucked up, but it's also very entertaining and funny at times even. I love everything about this movie. It's just I love it. I love Clockwork Orange, and that is my number 9. All right, coming at number 8, we have a movie that would probably be on a lot of people's like top 10 favorite lists. There's maybe even at number 1, which I completely understand because it's my number 8. But my number 8, my second favorite Quentin Tarantino film, that is Pulp Fiction. I mean, I don't even know what to say anymore about this movie, much like The Big Lebowski, because I've talked about this movie a lot, and everybody's talked about it, but it is definitely one of the greatest films ever made. Like, I understand why people love this movie, I understand why, why, like, film schools and whatnot, play it and whatnot, and I also can understand how someone can't even like this movie because it is very unique. The non-linear storytelling is very different, but which, of course, at that time it was kind of unique. I mean, it's probably been done before, but not as often. But since this movie came out, it's been done to death, and it doesn't do it as good as this movie. Go is a good movie, and that has like a non-linear storytelling thing, but that wasn't even on this list, so it's definitely not as good as Pulp Fiction. Very underrated movie, though. Go check that one out if you haven't. But yeah, just a fantastic movie. I love all 3 stories. My favorite is actually being the third story, the Bonnie situation. I absolutely love it because it's the funniest one. And I should mention the humor in this movie is absolutely great. Like, it's definitely it's a really funny movie for sure. And of course, I should mention the cast. Sam Jackson, John Travolta, Uma Thurman, Harvey Keitel, Bruce Willis, Ving Rhames as Marcellus Wallace, Tim Roth, Christopher Walken, Rosanna Arquette, Eric Stoltz. Yeah, Amanda Plummer. It's just, yeah, everything about this movie, and of course the soundtrack as well. But Son of a Preacher Man, Miserlou, Flowers on the Wall. Yeah, but. Yeah, Pulp Fiction, it's Pulp Fiction. It's an amazing film. I've talked about it a lot. I'm just going to move on. But yeah, Pulp Fiction. That's my number 8. Yeah. All right, coming at number 7, we have a movie that kind of inspired. Actually, a movie I have coming up. I was about to say what it was, but I'll just say it was a movie. I did say Slacker inspired Kevin Smith. This movie also inspired Kevin Smith, and it's just a great Spike Lee joint, and it's my all-time favorite Spike Lee joint, and yeah, that is Do the Right Thing. Man, every time I watch this movie, I just fall in love with it. Nothing really happens in this movie until the third act, and the ending. Like, then, yeah, a lot of things happen if you've seen the movie. But even without that third act, it's still a great movie. Like, I think it's very well done. Just alone, just like the cinematography and the performances and the dialogue and even the humor in the movie, it just works very well throughout the film. You got great performances by Spike Lee himself as Mookie, and also I don't know, I might butcher his last name, but Danny Leo, I think, as Sal. You also got John Turturro and Richard Edson and Giancarlo Esposito, another Breaking Bad actor, yes, as Bugging Out, who's probably my favorite character in the movie. Bill Nunn as Radio Raheed is great. I love Ozzie Davis as Demare. Is a really funny character. And yeah, this movie, it's just great. I love it so much. It's very entertaining. I forgot to mention Rosie Perez as well. She's in this movie. She's really great. And I love the opening with her dancing to "Fight the Power" by Public Enemy. It's so good. And yeah, it has a pretty good score and soundtrack as well. And yeah, it's just an amazing film that everybody should see. And also, not just because it's a good movie, but it has a good message too. It's about racism, and it's done very well. It's done in mostly a comedic way until the ending, but it's still a great film. And yeah, Do the Right Thing. That is my number 7. Yeah. Okay, coming at number 6, we have my favorite Wes Anderson film. I love Wes Anderson, but it's a shame that I only have this and Life Aquatic on the list. Like, I don't know. There's not another movie that I like almost all of his films, but none of the others really hit me as much as Life Aquatic in this movie. But yeah, but I think without a doubt this is his best film. That is The Royal Tenenbaums. I've talked so much about this one as well. Hilarious movie with also a great cast. Danny Glover, Gene Hackman, Angelica Houston, Bill Murray, Gwyneth Paltrow, Ben Stiller, Luke and Owen Wilson, and even Alec Baldwin as the narrator. But yeah, I love these characters. They're very bizarre characters, but I still love them. I'm not too big into Owen Wilson's character, though, to be honest, because I felt like they didn't really do too much with his character. Like, that's my only issue with the movie, is I don't love Owen Wilson's character. He did a good job playing him, but I just feel like I don't know. There's just something off with him. Oh my god, this is almost going to be this is about to be an hour. I'm so sorry, people. But anyways, but yeah, but other than Owen Wilson's character, I love all the other characters. My favorite is actually being Luke Wilson's character, Richie. I really like his character a lot. I think some people might not like him just because of the whole thing with him in love with Gwyneth Paltrow's character, just because they're kind of brother and sister. She's adopted, but still, yeah, that might be a little bit weird, but whatever. I mean, I guess it's just incest at its best. So that might be a weird. That might be a weird That's a weird quote by Jimmy Stone. Incest as its best, but it's still it's their relationship though is done pretty well though. I have to say. I mean, they're not. Never mind. But still, I just absolutely love this movie. It has a great soundtrack as well, and I love the cinematography. And the humor is amazing in this movie too. I should also mention Gene Hackman as Royal Tenenbaum is fantastic. Maybe the best character, but my personal favorite, like I said, is Richie. But I just thought I should mention him because he probably gives the best performance in the film. But yeah, The Royal Tenenbaums is just an amazing film. I love this. I love the script too. The story's great, and yeah, yeah, The Royal Tenenbaums. That's my number 6. All right, I apologize for this being an hour. I was not planning on this being an hour, but unfortunately it is. But if you made it this far, thank you very much. We only have 5 more, so let's just get it over with. All right, so coming at number 5 is I have to be honest, this is probably my favorite comedy, and my favorite Kevin Smith movie. I've talked a lot about this one, but yeah, that is Clerks. Yeah. Now, let me talk about the trilogy real quick. Clerks 2, I think, is alright. I think it's pretty good. It's pretty funny. There are some moments in the movie I don't really like all that much, and I don't know. It kind of felt unnecessary to do those movies. And really, this movie didn't need any sequels, but Clerks 2 is fine. It's a good movie. Cade, on the other hand, my cousin from Your Cousins Are Critics, hates that movie. He does like the first one, but he didn't like the second. Clerks 3, though, unfortunately wasn't great. I don't hate it, and I don't know. There's some good moments in it, and I respect it because it is a personal movie to Kevin Smith, but it wasn't great, unfortunately. It didn't have the same magic definitely not the same magic as this movie and even the second movie, but still, like, it's not. So the trilogy is kind of, the Clerks trilogy it's very interesting, actually. It's actually very interesting that those 3 movies were all made by the same director. Like, it's very interesting. In some ways, I kind of love it. I kind of love the Clerks trilogy just because it's very unique and interesting. But at the same time, those 2 movies are definitely not as good as the first movie, as Clerks. Yeah, this was the movie that Kevin Smith, he saw the movie Slacker, which I mentioned from Richard Linklater. And even Do the Right Thing inspired this movie as well. And, he had very little money, and he did go to film school, but didn't finish, I don't think. And so he was like, you know what? I'm going to make a movie, and I'm going to make it in the convenience store that I work at. So yeah, the story behind the movie alone is just fantastic. It's very inspiring. Like I think it's very inspiring. Like any filmmaker in general, even if you're not going to make like a comedy, I still think even watching this movie, like, you definitely should watch this movie, even if you want to get into filmmaking. Even if this is not the movie that you want to make, this is not the kind of movie you want to make, you still should watch this movie, because this tells you that, like, anybody can be a filmmaker, pretty much. And it's a fantastic movie. It's really good. It's hilarious. The black and white cinematography, which was only done mostly just because that's all they could afford with cameras and whatnot, which a lot of people kind of, like, when this movie came out, they thought that it was a clever idea because they thought maybe it was, like, from, like, the perspective of the security cameras in the convenience store. Even I thought that going into this movie, even when I first heard of it, and I saw, like, clips of it. I'm like, oh, that's cool. Is it, like, from the security cameras? But no, it's just how they did it. And yeah, and at that time it was not nobody was famous in the movie. None of the actors. I mean, some of them are now, of course, but that's because this movie is famous. Like Jason Mewes and Brian O'Halloran and Jeff Anderson. Of course, they are now thanks to this movie, and even some of the other Kevin Smith movies. But yeah, just everyone was unknown, including Kevin Smith himself, and this made them all popular, made them all famous, and it's fantastic, and I absolutely love it. Yeah, my favorite comedy. Yeah, Clerks. That's my number 5. All right, coming at number 4, we have my favorite Quentin Tarantino film. Yeah, I like this even better in Pulp Fiction. This is his debut film, and that is Reservoir Dogs. Yeah, just I don't know, man. Just the way this movie is made, the story is fantastic because it's about a heist, but it doesn't even show the heist. It just shows what happens before and after the heist, and it's done very well. It really is. The script for this movie is amazing. I love the dialogue. There's even some funny dialogue in it too, and just every actor gives it its all. With Harvey Keitel, Tim Roth, Chris Penn, Steve Buscemi, Lawrence Tierney, who might be my favorite in the movie as Joe, just because he makes me laugh the most. Michael Madsen, as well as Tarantino himself, and Eddie Bunker, I think is his name, who plays Mr. Blue. I think that's his name, but he's not in the movie a lot. But he's still pretty good though. But yeah, this movie is just absolutely fantastic and just very well made. It's kind of short, but it has very good pacing though. It has very good pacing, and it's just an absolute great film. Pulp Fiction might be better, and maybe even like Django Unchained, but I just personally love Reservoir Dogs. It's just my personal favorite by him, by Tarantino. And yeah, that's my number 4, Reservoir Dogs. Okay, now we're in the top 3 finally. Coming at number 3, we have for a long time this was my second favorite movie, but now it's my third favorite movie because another one beat it for me. And it might come as a surprise because this movie right here is a very beloved film. This is a movie this was actually the very first movie that me and Cade has done for Your Cousins Are Critics podcast. And I think it's a masterpiece, without a doubt. That is my favorite Martin Scorsese film, Taxi Driver. Yeah. Taxi Driver is just an amazing film. Robert De Niro as Travis Bickle, one of my favorite movie protagonists, without a doubt. And he's a very complicated character. Now, he's not a complete piece of shit like Alex DeLarge or even McMurphy in Cuckoo's Nest. No, but he's not a great person either. And I don't know. But he's a very good character, without a doubt. And Robert De Niro, chef's kiss. Other great performances too, like Jodie Foster and Harvey Keitel, Sybil Shepherd even, and you also got like Peter Boyle and Albert Brooks, and even Martin Scorsese himself has a cameo in this movie, and that scene is amazing. I could do a whole video just about that scene. I love it so much. It's my favorite, but the whole movie itself is just absolutely amazing. The third act goes pretty crazy, but it's done very well, and yeah, the music is great too. Has a great like jazzy soundtrack or score, I should say. Very well written too by Paul Schrader, and I kind of want to check out some of the movies he's directed. But yeah, Taxi Driver is amazing, and yeah, that's my number 3. However, another movie surprise. I'm even surprised that I like this movie better than Taxi Driver, because I never thought that, besides my number 1, I never thought any other movie could be better than Taxi Driver. Which, okay, to be honest, maybe Taxi Driver is better than this, and even my number 1, but personally, I just like my number 1 and 2 better than Taxi Driver. But my number two is the most recent film out of this whole list. The only movie. Wait, didn't I have The Northman too? I can't remember. I think I might have had The Northman on the list. Hold that thought for a second. Let's see here. The Northman. Yes, okay. My mistake. Not the only movie from this decade. I also had The Northman. But this is my favorite movie of the decade, at least so far. And yeah, it's my second favorite movie of all time. Came out last year, 2022. That is The Whale. Yeah, I'm shocked too. But man, I mean, I had other movies like Reservoir Dogs and Clerks, which, yes, those are completely different movies from this one. But, however, they do share a similar thing, like story-wise, to where it's in one location, or at least mostly one location, and it does it very well. Like, man, now this movie was actually inspired. This movie actually was it's based on a play, actually, and I can tell it does kind of feel like a something that would have been a play, but I just think this movie's very well written. I just love everything. I love the dialogue so much. I love the characters, even though a lot of them are unlikable, but I still think they're very good characters. Cinematography is even pretty good. The direction by Darren Aronofsky, which I do like him a lot as a director, but I would not expect to have a movie of his to be in my top three, let alone even top five. But yeah, and all the performances are fantastic, especially Brendan Fraser, who won an Oscar for this movie, and deservedly so. He is absolutely amazing. I honestly think that Sadie Sink should have even been nominated, but unfortunately she wasn't. But she gives the second best performance, at least in my opinion, in this film. And Hong Chow, who was also nominated, she was great. And I always forget the actor who plays Thomas. Ty Simpkins, he was good, and Samantha Morton as well. Samantha Morton, I should say. But yeah, and it has very little characters. Like, those are all of those actors I just mentioned are like almost like all the characters besides a pizza man that delivers to the main character Charlie and his students that he teaches. But that's it. That's like, it's very limited characters, but done very well and in one location. And it has a little bit of humor in it, a little bit, but it's mostly a very dramatic film, and it's very sad and heartbreaking. I think I cried at this movie once, at least the last time I watched it, or something. But that, I think it was mostly at the ending. I think the ending is what like gets to me, like, emotionally. But it's just a fantastic movie. Like I said, it does have unlikable characters, but some of them are relatable, especially Sadie Sink's character. Like, a lot of people probably don't like her, but I relate to her very much because I had a dad who abandoned me too, pretty much. So yeah, but yeah, but yeah, and just the makeup too. The makeup design on Charlie, on Brendan Fraser's absolutely great as well. But look out for a future Your Cousins Are Critics episode on this, because we are there is supposed to be Whiplash coming out soon. Hopefully, I'm still working on that one because we actually didn't do it video, or we didn't record the episode on video. We actually did an audio recording of it, because that's just something I kind of want to try out for the podcast, because the audio will be better. But I don't know. I need to listen to it again, and if it's good enough, it'll definitely be released next Saturday. But after Whiplash, then it should be The Whale. And yeah, I'm really excited to show Cade this movie. I don't know exactly how he's going to feel about this movie because I know this is not really his kind of movie, anyways. But I don't know. I'm really, this is just a movie I'm just curious to see his reaction to. But yeah, that should be interesting when we do that. But yeah, but The Whale, I absolutely love it. It's just, I know it's kind of divisive. Not a lot of people like it, but I love it. I love The Whale, and it's my second favorite movie of all time. However, if you know my channel, you should know what it is. If you don't know my channel, then you might be surprised of what it is. But my number one favorite movie of all time has been ever since I was 19 and a quarter. I would say and a half, but I actually watched it the day before my 20th birthday, so I say a quarter. I don't know if that's right, but yeah, has been my favorite movie for years, and so far it just hasn't been a movie that I liked as much as this. Maybe The Whale will beat it by the time we do the Your Cousins Are Critics episode. Who knows? But as of right now, my number one favorite movie of all time is Eraserhead. Yeah, so those of y'all that don't know my channel, this was the movie that changed my life. That's why this is my favorite movie of all time. This changed my life. Before I saw this movie, okay, there was a movie that did make me want to get into film, which didn't even make it on this list, because I do like the movie a lot, don't get me wrong, but, it's just, I don't know, it's just gone down a little bit on rewatch, but I still think it's a very good movie. That being Fight Club. Fight Club was like the movie before Eraserhead that changed my life, and that was my favorite movie for a while, because even before Fight Club, all I watched was comedy movies. That's all. And then I saw Fight Club, and I'm like, that was so good. Even though it's kind of a comedy, but still, like, it was still different, you know. And I was like, I want to watch even more, like, some other weird but cool artsy movies. And this movie makes Fight Club look pathetic because this movie is just very much out there. I know this is not for everybody, much like The Whale, and some other movies too I mentioned, but it's not for everybody. It's very artistic, it's very weird, it's very out there. A lot of people don't understand it, but it's one of those movies that you have to form your own interpretation of. I personally think it's about like depression and loneliness, and I don't really want to get into that. Maybe I'll do a whole video. I don't even know. I kind of want to explaining like my theories and whatnot on this movie, but I do think it's about like depression and loneliness, and I think it does it very well. And I should, of course, mention Jack Nance. The late, great Jack Nance does an amazing job as Henry in this film. And, there's very little dialogue. Very little. But what dialogue is there, I still think is great. And just, I love everything about this movie. Cinematography, the black and white cinematography is gorgeous. It's very dark looking, and some people might say it's ugly, but no, I think it's very gorgeous. The practical effects are fantastic, especially on the baby. Like, yeah, the baby is very creepy looking, but I love it. And I love the song In Heaven, Everything is Fine. Or In Heaven, the Lady in the Radiator song that the Lady in the Radiator sings. And it's just, I love that song. One of my favorite bands, the Pixies, even covered that song. It's really cool. And I think all the performances are great and whatnot. It's just a very weird movie. And David Lynch, hats off to him. This was his debut film. And, of course he made other weird movies, but this might even be his weirdest, just because it's even different. It's different from a lot of his other films. Of course, you could tell that's David Lynch and whatnot, but still, like, and I don't know. Maybe Mulholland Drive is better, but I personally like how this one was made a lot more than Mulholland Drive, and it's just an amazing film. It's a movie like every film buff should see, everybody who wants to be a filmmaker should see, even if you don't want to make this kind of movie. Like kind of like what I said about Clerks. I might even be the only guy that will put Eraserhead on Clerks and their favorite movies of all time, top 5, let alone. But it's two completely different movies, but two inspiring movies, and yeah. Anyways, though, but Eraserhead is just, it was just the movie that made me love film, and who knows, maybe The Whale will beat it someday, or maybe one of these other movies on my list will beat it someday, or maybe it's a movie that I wouldn't expect, like a movie maybe as of right now I don't even really like all that much, or at least not enough to be in the top 10, but I might be like, you know what, this is now my favorite movie. Or it could just be a movie that I never even seen as of right now. Who knows? Any movie could beat this, but ever since 2018, 5 years ago, yeah, this has been my favorite movie for 5 years, and it's still it. We'll see if it's still there, if it still holds the title 5 more years from now. 10 years later after I watched it. We'll see, but as of right now, this movie's still my number 1 favorite movie of all time. Eraserhead, In Heaven, Everything is Fine. Yeah. Alright, there we go. I'm going to get a quick drink real quick. Alright. I needed that because I talked for an hour. But anyways, yeah, this is like as long as my Your Cousins Are Critics episodes are, so I apologize. But anyways, if you made it this far, I thank you very much. Sorry for this being long, but I don't know. I felt like I needed to talk more about these movies since they were in my top 25, so yeah. So yeah, alright, in the comments, like I said in the others, give me your top 100 favorite movies. If you have a top 100. If not, I understand. But if you have a top 100, please put it down in the comments. I'm really curious. I wonder if we'll match any movies. If any of my movies will be on your list. I'm sure maybe there'll probably be some. But yeah. Yeah, please like, subscribe, comment, and hit the bell. So I think my next video will probably be, I imagine that will be my ranking for all the September movies I watched. Look out for a Pixar ranking coming hopefully very soon, because I am planning on watching Elemental, as long as we still have Disney Plus by the time I watch it, but I get to watching it. But Elemental is the last Pixar movie I need to watch, and then I'll do a Pixar ranking. Also, again, look out for the new. Well, first of all, look out for hopefully Whiplash, the Your Cousins Are Critics episode of Whiplash. But also look out for The Whale as well. But yeah. So yeah, thank you again for watching. Again, please like, subscribe, comment, hit the bell, and I'll see you later. Peace.